Dual-use research is research that's designed for the benefit of our society. However, there may be techniques in which there's an opportunity for misuse.
I believe that biotechnology is perhaps our greatest tool in trying to find ways to counter disease. It's a dual-edged sword, and it's perhaps our greatest challenge because the very same techniques that would allow us to produce innovative countermeasures also provide opportunities for someone to use them in a bad way.
There have been a number of experiments that have produced unexpected results that if technology fell into the hands of someone who wanted to do harm and had the opportunity to do so, it could be quite devastating.
Well, dual use in the scientific sense is taking legitimate research and the results and product of that research and using it or finding that there are other ways to use it that are more harmful to humankind than what it was initially designed to do.
I think it is a real threat. It is potential, but it's also real. It is not as apparent in many cases, and it is immediately apparent in other cases.
I think there are certain things that can be done to minimize the risks, but there's always going to be the potential for negative purposes.
Oh, I'm sure the threat is real because, if you can have biologicals that can cause harm to people, there's always going to be a threat that somebody will use it improperly.
It's a very broad category. One could easily envision how almost any research, no matter how seemingly unrelated to doing harm, a clever mind could potentially turn that around.
A piece of knowledge that might come out of a laboratory today is seemingly without harm whatsoever. But when put into a series of other pieces of information, could be devastating.
In the case of nuclear physics, there was an iconic experience, the mushroom cloud, that made it clear to nuclear physicists that their work had security implications. There has been no comparable iconic experience for life scientists.
I don't think that the public should worry about terrorism every day, but I think that our government and our recovery system, our scientific community, needs to think about it carefully and on a regular basis and have plans and procedures in place to deal with it.
I think government ultimately should have some overall say in the rules of conduct among scientists. If they're going to be funded with government money, then they should adhere by the rules.
You need the scientists involved in the discussions about the rules because they will be knowledgeable and sensitive about the nuance and will not allow for blanket statements that don't make sense.
It's absolutely essential that we as scientists continue this research because the only way to know about how viruses cause disease or how bacteria cause disease is to work with these highly virulent agents and to be able to learn about them through experiments in the laboratory.
If you go to laboratories that do research with such organisms, you will see that the requirements are extremely stringent. Whether you need more than that is a question for the experts in those fields.
I think that scientists should be allowed to not be inhibited in terms of their innovation and their creativity, but at the same time, we must have some limits to what we're doing.
I do not believe there should be any kind of controls that prevent the free exchange of scientific information. That's my personal opinion.
Most of the stuff that is coming out as far as security and scientific regulation is making it harder, but you have to be convinced that you are making it better too. The regulatory environment is the cost of doing business.
If it just becomes a matter of legislation, that a lot of things are going to be stifled. That's why it's that much more important for scientists to take the initiative.
I do think it's really the scientific community that has to come up to the plate and address the security implications of certain types of life science research.
I think it's all of our responsibility, but I do believe that it starts with the scientist.
it really has to start with more global thinking. Students have to be, and investigators the same way, have to be on alert that there is now this issue that always existed but has become, because of modern technology, a real problem.
I think the point of view of considering the potential for negative uses can be presented to the incoming graduate students and the younger scientists so that it's part of their mindset as they go through their careers.
For people who are worried about issues like this, science education ought to be on their agendas.
It's really in the interests of the scientists themselves to engage in this problem and try to shape it in a way that will minimize the harm to the scientific enterprise.
We have a responsibility not only to our personal research, but also to the research community and the communities we live in, and frankly now a global responsibility.
I firmly believe that scientists in this country are overall extremely concerned about public good.
We can do a lot for the public trust by being transparent in a number of things that we do.
This is a problem that we're all working on, that we have to work on in order to find the best path.